That's the whole life that the metal arm has, is crumpling paper day in, day out. And you think you've got a tough job. Well, I'll tell you something. Hey, I'm Jessie Janae, and you're watching Unboxing Things. We're going to unbox your favorite e-commerce brands and break down exactly what makes their unboxing experience so magical. So, who do we have in our fancy, magical mailbox today? Wouldn't you like to know? Okay, found it. It's Hilma. Hilma is a natural supplement company making remedies for stomach and allergy. We're going to talk about this box, but first we're going to talk about what came before I received this box. When I checked out on Hilma.com, they gave me an option. They gave me agency over my own life, and they said, Jessie, do you want to check a box that gives you eco-friendlier shipping, only shipping in the bare essentials? And I said yes, and I checked that box. Packaging is not a monolith. It's not as though every brand needs to have one approach and that's it. Hilma is actually giving me choices. And especially if you order and reorder from a brand, on those reorders, you're most likely going to select that choice, which gives Hilma the ability to save, often actually cutting down costs, but also, of course, most importantly, cutting down on material use, print use, ink use, etc. And the box, when it arrives, actually thanks me for my incredible decision making. It says, thanks for doing your part for the planet and choosing our eco shipper, your friends at Hilma. Now, this is one color printing on an RSC style box. RSC stands for regular slotted container. In the packaging biz, that is sort of like your standard boxy box. You might not recognize the RSC style in such a tiny box. Normally you see RSCs and it's like U-Haul shipper boxes and stuff like that, your moving boxes, your classic box styles. But that box style with the two flaps that meet in the middle with a tape line, top and bottom, is a box style that can really be used at almost any size. So I get thanked on this side. What happens on this side? Well, an eco-friendly box from Hilma, natural remedies backed by science. So there's a nice piece of branding, but it also reminds me as well about that eco-friendly decision I made. And then on the bottom, you got a box certificate, a box maker certificate, what we call in the biz, a BMC. A BMC gives you a lot of details about your box. If you're ever curious and you see one of these puppies on the bottom, you can actually read it and learn about your box. Burst test, 200 pounds per inch. Size limit, 75 inches, gross weight, 65 pounds, made in Pico Rivera. I know where this box came from. I know how much it can handle. I can learn a lot from the BMC. And the BMC is printed in the same color ink as the logo and other type information because that's the most efficient thing to do. If you're gonna ink up, a printing plate, you might as well use one color of ink. Only other things going on the outside of this box is you've got your thermal shipping label. In this case, the thing I want to draw your attention to is that this box is designed to be exactly the height of a thermal shipping label, which is about 6 inches. This is efficient because you don't have to actually, to have the thermal label go over the edge, which can cause scanning issues and fulfillment. You don't want a scanning issue. But otherwise, this is pretty standard, but this is an efficient way to do that thermal label. And then of course you have the closure of the box happening with clear packing tape. With an RSC style box, you absolutely must have tape. With other styles of box that have their own closure or tuck tabs or other physical things that keep the box together, you don't always need tape. You can just maybe put a sticker or a small label, but with an RSC, you need tape. Let's get inside and see what we're dealing with. All right, I'm cutting right through my thermal shipping label. All right, you got some classic flap action here. These flaps meet in the middle. There is such thing as a full overlap box where the flaps extend and actually fully overlap each other. That can give even more puncture strength for products that are sharp or need extra protection. You don't really need that at Hilma, and again, this is the eco shipper, so why use extra material when you don't need to? We're all the way inside. And we've reached the beautiful inner packaging. Stomach reset in an inner carton. We'll come back to this. We've also got an allergy supplement in a beautiful container. And then we've got another stomach relief situation here in another beautiful container. In the bottom, what have we got? Well, it's a whole lot and not a lot. It's just a piece of paper balled up. One of the most efficient things for void fill is this piece of paper balled up. Why is that? Because it's really simple. There's actually paper crumpling machines you can buy in fulfillment where you take a roll of paper and you kind of pull it through this like metal arm thing. And what does the metal arm thing do? It crumples it. That's the whole life that the metal arm has, is crumpling paper. But this is highly efficient. And the other thing I love about this is it's not just efficient because it's not a lot of material. There's a lot of air in here. The material is just, very thin, but also it's easy to recycle. So this you just can take, put in the box, recycle in your blue bin. It's all paper, all can go back into the waste stream. Enough about this. Let's cover these components. There's something really cool about the e-commerce component being so basic because the packaging on the product actually has a little bit more room to shine visually. These things really stand out. The colors really pop because they're beautiful, but there's a few other things I want to bring your attention to. One is actually color consistency. This beautiful green color is consistent across this component, and also this component. The color cohesion across these different components is impressive, not just because it looks cool, but also because it's difficult to pull off. This is paper, this is plastic. Inside here is a sachet made out of a completely other material, and it also matches in color really, really well. When you're trying to match inks across different materials, these are all completely different inks on completely different materials. The best way to do that is not only having a Pantone color that you're working from. A Pantone color allows every one of these manufacturers to actually work from something common, from a common starting point, but also you do something referred to as a color drawdown. Color drawdown tests the real ink on the real material until you actually arrive at your real Pantone. Long story short, color matching on different types of materials takes work, and if that's a core aspect of your brand's packaging, you want to give several weeks for color testing on new materials before rolling out new packaging. It might seem wild, but what actually happens in a production facility to do a color drawdown is someone usually mixes a tiny pot of the little paint and little ink for that component and takes a tiny piece of the material and actually paints it on by hand and dries it in a custom way so that your eyes can look at it. So it's a pretty custom process because they don't have the benefit of turning on the big machinery because you're not in production yet. Another component of this packaging is the communication around ingredients. There's something really honest about the way they're communicating about ingredients, not just because they put the information out there, it's really clear to read, but also because they talk to me in words that I know. I only know so many words, and they're using almost all of them. They're talking to me like a human, and they're assuming that I can understand my own health issues, which I really appreciate. There's an honesty and a groundedness to it. There's this seal, this is Natural Remedies backed by science. This seal is actually repeated on the external e-commerce packaging and on every component. So that really kind of brings that brand to life for me again because it reinforces a core aspect of the brand. Another small detail, but there's actually a shrink sleeve on these caps of the bottles. That gives you tamper evidence. It actually shows you whether this bottle has been opened. For supplements and things that you ingest, it's usually pretty important to know that it has not been opened before. And it serves another function in actual transit, which is why I mention it. In transit, it actually keeps the bottle top from like spinning or vibrating off. Vibration is a crazy force in nature. And whether you consider a UPS truck to be nature or not is another conversation. But when a truck is vibrating down a freeway, actual caps can twist themselves off into oblivion, and then boom, supplements everywhere, boom, you can't eat them, boom, you're upset. Long story short, shrink sleeve, not a bad way to solve it. So what's so special about Hilma's packaging option here that's like lightweight packaging is what isn't here. What isn't here is a more complicated box design. What isn't here is additional plastic components or things that I can't recycle. What isn't here is this box didn't require tooling in order to produce it. Now, I want to make this point clearer for you. These two boxes are effectively the same dimensions, but different box styles. This is a roll and tuck front box here, and this is an RSC that they actually used. But I'm going to actually show you what these two boxes look like flat. One sec. Okie dokie, artichoke. All right, So now you can see the difference in material usage. See how this box is effectively just a big rectangle with actual cuts made into it? Again, this is why this box does not require tooling, but also look at the material efficiency. If you were using a big piece of material, you could make several of these boxes pretty easily. Compare that to this box. See how it has these shapes that protrude out? Similar to when you're baking cookies or cutting something out of a piece of material. That means that now you have to actually fit these and slot them together on a larger sheet. Much more material gets wasted. So even boxes that look similar in size can use vastly different amounts of material. I think it's time to roll in the recap. Hilma, amazing for my health, also amazing packaging. Let's get into it. First, the Hilma packaging is approachable. The little graphics to talk about the ingredients, the way that they make me feel in control, like I can understand my own health, that is actually on the packaging. It's the way they explain the brand and the product. It's also cohesive. Remember the color matching? Not easy. They're bringing together the whole brand feel with cohesive packaging and graphic design. And third, optional. The packaging itself is optional. At checkout, I was able to check a box and actually receive less packaging. I love that they put the agency in my hands, and I think that's a really incredible brand attribute. This has been Hilma Unboxed.